know something. Don't nobody know nothing.
Dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City, where she recently commemorated 9/11 with her own photo. But when they're put on Henyard's detail, case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
A 2-week pay period, 303 hours. How?
All right, to be quite honest, when I first heard about this story, I thought that it was fake. Hearing that there is a mayor who is just acting a complete fool, taking money from the citizens openly. There's nothing stealthy about what she's doing. She's openly telling the citizens that they better have her money, going on all these lavish trips, paying for security detail, utilizing the town's police, mind you, paying herself like at least 5-6 times the salary of what a normal mayor of this small town would get paid. Just absolutely mind-blowing what's taking place in the small city of Dolton in the Chicagoland area. But without further ado, let's hop into it.
Can the Dolton Police Department afford to have this many officers attached to her detail?
We can. We really need them patrolling the streets.
So she's the part-time mayor of a South suburban village of a little more than 20,000 people.
Yet residents of Dolton are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to provide security for their self-proclaimed super mayor.
Tonight, Fox 32 investigates Tiffany Henyard's security detail and the massive amount of overtime it is generating for a handful of officers. Our Dane Placco has more.
Hey guys, it's the Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the People's Mayor and People's Supervisor.
Tiffany Henyard makes nearly $250,000 a year serving as both mayor of Dolton and Thornton Township super.
Listen to that already. She calls herself the people's supervisor. Oh man. Okay. Let's continue.
Supervisor, an elected political double dip. She's charismatic and controversial.
Nobody knows something. Don't nobody know nothing.
Here she is starting a Dolton Village board meeting dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City. Later, punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you.
Wait. Is this serious? I mean, is this actually real? This can't be real. She came dressed as Nino Brown from New Jack City. And then she's sitting at the podium or up there at her desk like it's her high horse. And she's playing Rihanna, Bitch Better Have My Money. And she's talking to the people of this town of Dolton. Oh, wait. This is a joke. This has to be a joke. Wait, let's continue. I'm sorry.
You DJ.
And it's hard to turn anywhere in Dolton without seeing Henyard's picture or online, where she recently commemorated 9/11 with her own photo. I'll ask you a few questions.
Okay.
But when we asked Henyard a few months ago about her use of tax dollars, she was quickly hustled out of the room by armed security. And on Facebook, in videos posted by Henyard herself, we see her being driven around and surrounded by Dolton officers, which got us to wondering, why all the cops?
We weren't opposed to her having the security detail. We asked how long and how often.
Dolton trustee Brittany Norwood says Henyard began assembling her details shortly after being elected in 2021, using hand-picked Dolton police officers. Using a Freedom of Information request, we obtained the work records for 6 of the officers assigned to Henyard's security detail at various times, and showed them to some of Dolton's trustees. This is a Freedom of Information request we did to see how much overtime these officers are making on her security detail.
Oh, wow.
162 hours.
162. Oh, that's nothing. What goes through your mind when you see these numbers?
It's disappointing. It's frustrating.
The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Henyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How? How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
336
Does he never go to sleep?
In fact, there are 336 hours total in 2 weeks, meaning Young was not being paid for only 33 hours over that period. Other officers on the security detail are also racking up overtime paychecks in the multiple thousands of dollars. Mayor, mind if I ask you a couple questions about your security detail?
Absolutely not.
I'm asking her.
Yeah, she said no.
A couple weeks ago, we tried to question Henyard about her detail as she went door to door in Dolton giving out water on a 100-degree day, surrounded by police, firefighters, public works employees, and 2 videographers documenting for Dolton's Facebook page.
I want to tell the people I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I hope they post what we actually do here in the village of Dolton and stop telling lies.
But when we gave her an opportunity to explain the OT, Mayor, why do you need so many officers, details, or your security?
What did you say, water? It sounded like you said water.
Earlier that day, we watched as a Dolton cop drove Henyard from her other job at Thornton Township to a Mexican restaurant for lunch. Trustees say the security detail picks the mayor up at her home in the morning and is with her until she's dropped off at night, often taking her on errands and shopping. Does she need a security detail?
Absolutely not. Why? Why would you need a security detail?
Oh, she loves it. She just loves it. She loves the detail. I think it makes her feel as if she's like a superstar.
Dolton trustees have filed a lawsuit against Henyard, saying she's not justified the need for security and is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on it without the board's approval.
I see no justification whatsoever, and more than that, it's really a detriment to the residents of Dolton.
How so?
The residents, if we would take the same money and put it on officers patrolling the streets, then the residents will see a much better presence and public safety will be better.
We've had a few shootings, so we need the extra police patrolling our streets instead of patrolling her.
And we found Dolton credit card statements showing that Henyard takes the detail with her even when she travels out of town, spending thousands of dollars on plane tickets, lodging, and meals for the officers. Mayor, why are you taking all the officers out of town with you? Isn't that a waste of taxpayers' money?
Let's go to this one right here.
Anything you want to say to defend yourself on this? As for the village's finances, trustees say Dolton is now getting sued by some vendors for failure to pay its bills.
In the last 2 fiscal years, we're $5 million in the hole. And a big part of it is the security detail.
It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
This is absolutely despicable. This is downright just dirty. I don't know any other way to put it. But when I see something such as this, I think about the Black community and the lack of a stance. Thank goodness the residents of this town actually have filed a lawsuit against this criminal. She's just a straight up criminal, period. But for her to even think in 2024 that she could even do something like this, she's using the taxpayers' money to pay for lavish trips, security detail. I saw something about her also having a skating rink built, and she hasn't opened it. She's using it for her own pleasure. She's throwing parties in there and things of this nature. I also saw something else where she supposedly had, allegedly had a resident's house shot up because they were combating against her. This is mob boss type of stuff that she's pulling, and it's blatant. She's not trying to hide it whatsoever. And again, it just makes me think about just how long the lack of community and the lack of a stance that so many Black people have taken for so long. It's like no one even takes us seriously. Not even our own takes us seriously. For this woman to be able to even pull something like this and think that she's gonna get away with it. She did this full well knowing that people were gonna see it. But it just reminds me of this idea of when, say in the black community, and I honestly believe this, I've always thought this, but in the black community, how during periods of gentrification, when other races begin to come into, say, a predominantly black neighborhood, and they begin to just mosey on about doing their norms. Let's say old white lady is walking a dog down the street, or you have joggers just jogging through the neighborhood or whatnot, and no black person would even think about touching them. But when it comes to someone who looks like them, it's a no-brainer. They'll rob them, or they'll jump them for no reason, just for being black, just for walking down the street. Hey, what you is? Just straight up foolishness. It's because they know who to touch and who not to touch. This is all that this says to me. She knew where to pull something like this. And Dolton is a Chicago suburb. It's a south suburb of the Chicagoland area. If she were doing this, let's say in downtown Chicago, if she was the mayor of Chicago and she was trying to pull something like this, or let's even say one of the more affluent suburbs of Chicago, say like in North Chicago, like Evanston, Illinois, or something like that, this would have been shut down. So as a matter of fact, she wouldn't have even tried to do it, which is my point. She's only pulling it because she believes that she can, because of where she is, because of the majority of the population that is there being black. It's dirty, it's disgraceful. And like I'm absolutely ashamed when I see stuff such as this, because why are you taking advantage of people that you know, or at least that you view as less fortunate? And the only reason I say that, I don't even necessarily mean it monetarily, but you took advantage of this idea that no one cares, as opposed to you, and she calls herself a black woman, and why y'all going, like, because the residents filed a lawsuit against her. I saw a clip where she was getting on the residents about trying to bring down a black woman.
And y'all should be ashamed of y'allself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. All the stuff that y'all did to get people to come to our community, to just diss and down our community. Shame on y'all.
Woman. No, you're a black woman trying to bring down a black neighborhood, the black people. You should be ashamed. But this is the tomfoolery that she's trying to pull. Why? Because she thinks that they are stupid. And this is the problem that I have when it comes to, let's say, the Democrats. Because instead of getting on people like this, and I don't know if, the so-called black leaders or whatnot have seen this and have said something about it just yet, but this is the crap that I'm talking about. While so many of them, like the Charlemagne the Gods, I'm talking about black public figures, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Mark Lamont Hill, while y'all are so busy talking about race and how the white man is trying to keep us down and how we're automatically behind the 8 ball because of the color of our skin, instead of pointing out issues such as this, which are equivalent to black on black crime, if you ask me, in my opinion. There's far more reckless acts of injustice that black people do to one another versus the opposite of a white person doing to a black person. There are far more issues in the black community than outside of it. And this is what I would love for them to touch on, for them to turn their focus on. Because honestly, most other ethnicities, whites, whatever you have, whatever you can think about, they don't necessarily care about what's going on in the black community. They're not thinking about us. Turn your attention towards fixing what's going on in the black community. And that has nothing to do with the outsiders. Too many black people in the black neighborhoods don't care about their own neighborhood enough to call the police when they see someone doing something wrong, or when they hear about something happening that they know shouldn't be. When you see someone breaking into someone's house or their car, when you see someone robbing someone, when you hear gunshots, get that shit out of the neighborhood. There's no excuse for it. All this stop snitching and all that bullshit, that's bullshit. That's dumb shit. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I was saying the same thing before. That's when I was caught up in this dumbass idea that it ain't cool to snitch and this, that, and the third. Listen, man, this is the reason why we cannot get ahead as a people. It's because of dumbass ideas such as that. And this lady right here, the city girl mayor or whatever she calls herself, she's taking advantage of the narrative. And this is the only reason why she felt like she could do something like this. But I'm glad that the residents are calling her out on it and they're filing a lawsuit against her. I'll continue to follow this story. Hopefully something comes of it. Hopefully this criminal is brought to justice, because, man, this is ugly. Hey, man, until next time, remember, we don't eat donuts. It's your man, Dom Fighter, signing out. I'll see you later.
So don't tell me you ain't got it or you can't do something. Yeah, everybody spitting, but they ain't saying nothing. I'm just trying to make a difference, give you something to think about. I ain't worried about a status or some goddamn clout. If you see me in the streets, don't be afraid to shout, but I'm out.